Speaking Myanmar, lessons for English-speaking learners, the verb particle for can or able. In this lesson, you'll learn the two verb particles that mean can or able and the difference between the two. You'll learn what they look like, how to pronounce them, and I'll show you where they fit in a sentence. So let's get started. In my previous lesson on the particle for must, I talked about these examples of helping verbs. These are verbs that are combined with other verbs to add meaning. And in the Myanmar language, they must always be added to other verbs. Now, in this lesson, I'm going to discuss these two particular helping verbs, can and to be able to. Now, in English, we usually use can in both of these sentences. I can take you to the store. I can fix your computer. In the Myanmar language, one particle in this lesson could be used for both sentences, but there's a better particle for the second example. So let's start with the particle most used. This is the first particle we'll talk about. Now, this can also be a verb meaning to win, and it's used as another particle that means may or might. But in this lesson, it's used with a verb to mean can, in the sense that someone is willing to do something, or someone has permission to do something. So in our first example, I can take you to the store. We're saying, I'm willing to do it. Or when a parent says, you can go with your friends, permission's being granted, so that you can go, you're able to go. Now, this particle is always combined with a verb. In our example here, the verb to go. It's pronounced like the word nain, but with the final N sound, where that final N is barely discernible. Nain. Now let's look at how to place it in a sentence. Now, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to use this sentence. I can go to the store. In Myanmar, it's sango toa nain de. Now here's the verb particle combination. In the reverse order of English, you should be getting used to that by now. Instead of can go, it's go can. Lastly, we have to add the final particle. In this case, it's de, which is the affirmative particle. Now let's look at how to make this a negative statement. I can't go to the store. In Myanmar, you'd say, Sango matoanaim bu. Now our verb particle combination stays intact, but we replace the affirmative particle with the negative particle pair. One before the verb particle combination and one after. But now let me show you a second particle that also means can and what the difference between the two is. This is our second particle. It can also be used for can, but its meaning is a bit different. It implies not a willingness to do something, but an ability to do something. I find it easier to think of the English phrase to be able. So, can you drive a car? Can you bake a cake? Can you fix a computer? In other words, do you have the ability to do those things? Now, in all honesty, the particle that we first considered, nain, will get you by, and you'll find it sometimes used even to imply an ability to do something. But you'd never do the reverse. If you were offering to do something, you were willing to do something, you wouldn't use this particle. But if you're indicating you have the ability to do something, this is really the particle that you want to use. It also has to be combined with a verb, just like all of the other helping verbs. And it's pronounced da, which sounds like the word tap, but with the final P sound left off and an abrupt ending, and that's the stop tone in Myanmar. Da. Now let's look at how you could use this particle. The example I'm going to use is I can speak Myanmar. The primary verb is speak. The helping verb is can. What I'm really saying is I'm able, I have the ability to speak the Myanmar language. In Myanmar, it would be Myanmarzaga pyotate. The particle that follows the primary verb, pyo. However, it comes before the final particle, the affirmative particle in this case. Now, the negative statement would be, I can't speak Myanmar. I don't have the ability to do that. Myanmarzaga mpyotapu. The verb particle combination stays intact and the affirmative particle is again replaced with a negative particle pair. Now, could you say pyo nainde to say that you could speak Myanmar? You could, and you would probably be understood. But in this case, pyo tate is really the correct way to say it. So now in the way of review, the first particle for can is nain, and it implies a willingness or permission to do something. The second particle is that, and it means an ability to do something. The first particle sounds just like the number 9 with a barely discernible final N sound, nain. The second sounds like the word tap, but with the P removed and a quick stop tone ending, that. Both of these particles directly follow the primary verb, but come before the final particle. And that finishes this lesson.